paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10?
The question is that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favour say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it.
Statement by Minister.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, with your permission, I wish to make a statement relating to the publication in the press of alleged increase in the salaries of junior ministers and advisors. Let me first dispel a misunderstanding on allowances to be paid to junior ministers, although this, I must say, was clearly explained to the House yesterday by the Honourable Attorney General. This subject has been widely misinterpreted by the opposition and other quarters. They are arguing that allowances to junior ministers are being raised, while this is clearly not the case. The National Assembly Allowances Act provides for the allowances to be paid to ministers and other members of the National Assembly, including parliamentary private secretary. However, no provision has been made in the schedule of the Act for the payment of allowances to junior ministers. With a view to correct this anomaly, mention was made in the annex of the budget 2025-2026 that amendment would be brought to the National Assembly Allowances Act to cater for the payment of allowances to junior ministers. Now, the House is aware 10 junior ministers have been appointed on office since the 22nd of November 2024. Administrative arrangement has been made for the payment of allowances to junior ministers at the same quantum payable to former parliamentary private secretaries. I wish to reassure the House that junior ministers are not being paid a single cent more than what parliamentary private secretaries used to draw in the past. Madam Speaker, in respect to advisors, I have noted the recent campaign which puts doubt in the minds of the population regarding what has been referred to as substantial increase in their salaries. This is clearly part of a campaign of disinformation and innuendos. I would like to point out that under the MSM regime, there were 4 categories of advisors, namely 1, special advisors, 2, senior advisors, 3, advisors on information matters, and 4, advisors on public relations matters. Government has decided to rationalize the category of advisors with the introduction of a category of senior advisors, technical, between brackets, to cater for specialized fields in, for example, medicine, engineering, otherwise. Otherwise, you have, sorry, I'm not going to make a speech, I forgot. Government does not want, I'll stick to the statement. Government doesn't want to leave it to the discretion of whoever comes to power to decide on his own personal volition, his personal wishes, how much of public money should be spent on people who have been recruited by them. Government is simply being transparent in respect to the different scales of salaries applicable to advisors. Madam Speaker, I should also point out that except in a few cases, very few cases, where advisors are serving on boards, strict instructions have been given not to allow advisors to be members of boards of parastatal bodies or state-owned enterprises. I wish to state, Madam Speaker, that under the former government, they boosted the income of advisors by allowing them to serve on numerous boards. Very often, these advisors were earning revenues from these boards, which was higher than their own salary. Let me give you a couple of examples to illustrate this, without naming any names.
Yes.
One special advisor who was drawing a salary of 163,250 rupees was also appointed as chairperson of Mauritius Revenue Authority, where it was a salary, SBM Bank Holdings Limited, Mauritius Telecom, Multi-Carrier Mauritius Limited, and Metro Express Limited, all drawing salaries. He was also the director of SBM Africa Holdings Limited, again drawing a salary, SBM Kenya Limited, paid in US dollars, Mauritius Duty Free Paradise Company Limited, and Rodriguez Duty Free Paradise Company Limited. I'm just giving a few examples, couple of examples. Another special advisor, drawing 132,000 rupees per month and 20,000 rupees extra duty allowance as chairperson of Airports or Mauritius Company Limited, Airport Terminal Company Operations Limited, and Mauritius Duty Free Paradise Company Limited. He was also a member of numerous boards and committees, including 9 committees of SBM Holdings Limited, 9, State Insurance Company of Mauritius Limited, SICOM, and 2 of its subcommittees, Air Mauritius Limited, Air Mauritius Holdings Limited, Airmate Limited, and Mauritius Helicopter Limited. A third example, Madam Speaker, another special advisor was drawing a salary of 119,500 rupees. He was also appointed on boards, on the following boards: Gambling Regulatory Authority, Mauritius Duty Free Paradise Company Limited, Rodriguez Duty Free Paradise Limited, Airports of Rodriguez Limited, Airports of Rodriguez Limited, Pointe Canon Resort Hotel Company Limited, and Metro Express Limited. I could go on and on, Madam Speaker, to refer to others, but it would be far too long. To conclude, Madam Speaker, let me reiterate what I have stated on several occasions in this House. This government will not renege on its pledge to ensure that the principles of good governance and accountability underpin all its action. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Big Bill, second reading.
Yes, Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Yes. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente. C'est mon premier discours en tant que ministre sur les débats budgétaires. L'année 2025-2026 n'est pas des plus populaires, certes, mais c'est avec fierté que je viens le défendre. Car c'est un budget courageux, héroïque même, avec des mesures attendues depuis des décennies. Nous sommes face à un paysage en ruine. L'État a fait naufrage. Cette phrase, prononcée par le Premier ministre et ministre des Finances le 5 juin dernier, reste aggravée dans nos mémoires. Elle résume, en somme, au désastre laissé par le gouvernement MSM. Une image me vient à l'esprit, celle de Simba, le roi lion, revenant chez lui après des années d'exil, forcé de constater un spectacle de désolation et d'obscurité. La méchanceté, la petitesse, la gourmandise du MSM. Les malhonnêtes avaient décimé le pays. Madame la Présidente, ici, l'honorable docteur Navin Ramgoolam, Premier ministre, a été confronté à un spectacle différent de tout aussi catastrophique. Il y a eu un pays en faillite, des caisses totalement vides et des institutions près de la décomposition. Maurice était KO debout. C'est celui-là même qui voulait offrir à la population une meilleure vie dans les plus brefs délais, a été confronté aux conséquences des frasques de l'Ancien Régime. Il est évidemment impossible, dans une telle situation, d'appliquer toutes les annonces faites durant la campagne électorale. Quoique le 14e mois a été payé à 90% des employés du public et du privé, le Premier ministre a aussi pris son courage à deux mains pour annoncer la mesure difficile de l'extension de l'âge d'éligibilité à la pension universelle de vieillesse. Il a préféré porter cette lourde responsabilité au détriment de sa popularité, mais animé par le seul désir de sauver le pays du naufrage. Le pays avant tout, Madame la Présidente. Cet acte de bravoure mérite d'être salué. S'il fallait une comparaison, je ferai le parallèle avec l'agenda 2010 de l'ancien chancelier Gerhard Schröder. Au début des années 2000, en Allemagne, les finances publiques avaient été plombées par le coût de la réunification, le chômage était élevé, le système de protection sociale était sous pression et la compétitivité du pays était en déclin. Les réformes sous l'agenda 2010 consistaient à réduire les allocations de chômage, rendre flexible le marché du travail et réformer le système de santé et de retraite. Je dois dire que ces mesures ont provoqué des vagues de protestations massives, mais en tant que bon capitaine, le chancelier Schröder a tenu bon, convaincu que ces réformes étaient indispensables pour assurer la prospérité de son pays. Schröder a payé cher pour sa réforme, mais aujourd'hui, le monde entier loue l'agenda 2010 pour avoir permis à l'Allemagne de redevenir un géant économique et d'avoir une économie qui a résisté à la crise financière, n'oublions pas, de 2008, et d'être le moteur économique de l'Europe. Il faut reconnaître, Madame la Présidente, que le courage des leaders qui choisissent de regarder au-delà des sondages et de la satisfaction immédiate. Le docteur Navid Boulam, le Premier ministre de ce pays, l'honorable, et de cette trempe. La trempe des héros, Madame la Présidente. D'autres orateurs l'ont dit avant moi. Aucun gouvernement ne choisit sciemment d'être impopulaire. Aucun gouvernement ne prend plaisir à venir avec des décisions qui affectent le quotidien de ses citoyens. Aucun gouvernement n'introduit la nouvelle taxe ou augmente celles qui sont déjà existantes sur un coup de tête ou avec légèreté. Enfin, aucun gouvernement n'abolit ou réduit une allocation de gaieté de cœur. Mais en revanche, Madame la Présidente, il y a certes des choses inimaginables que nous avons vu un gouvernement faire ici, dans ce beau pays. Nous avons vu les membres d'un gouvernement profiter allègrement de la pandémie, de la Covid, pour faire des affaires dans le dos du petit peuple. Nous avons vu un gouvernement et son ministre des Finances littéralement braquer la banque de Maurice, Open Day Robbery, afin de faire main basse sur les réserves et distribuer généreusement à leurs copains et leurs mignons. Nous avons vu un gouvernement distribuer des allocations comme on lançait du pain à l'époque dans les arènes romaines. Madame la Présidente, n'étant pas, selon votre expression, aussi beau parleur que mon ami le ministre de l'Énergie, tu te réveilles, je dirais tout simplement que nous avons un gouvernement qui fait exactement l'opposé d'une gestion économique saine. Justement, Madame la Présidente, c'est sur cette mauvaise gouvernance qui fait que l'urgence économique a pris le pas sur la popularité à Maurice. C'est cette gestion catastrophique qui a fait que la dette publique a franchi la barre des 90% de notre PIB. C'est un ancien gouvernement irresponsable qui a transformé le déficit budgétaire année après année en un véritable gouffre économique. L'ancien ministre des Finances parlait à la veille des élections d'un pays qui a connu un boom économique en l'espace de 2 ans. Non, vraiment, Madame la Présidente, ce qu'il aurait dû avouer, c'est qu'il y a eu une déflagration. En effet, M. Padehachi, le pays a fait boum. Le pays a fait boum. Il a explosé, Madame la Présidente, sous le régime du MSN. Il a fait boum. D'où la nécessité de ce gouvernement de toucher à certains acquis. Je comprends que la mesure concernant la pension de vieillesse génère l'inquiétude et frustration, mais je sais que des efforts et des sacrifices sont demandés à la population. Et je suis néanmoins convaincu que les Mauriciens ont la maturité nécessaire pour comprendre que ces décisions constituent des investissements à l'avenir. Il y a des moments dans la vie, Madame la Présidente, où le calcul et la cote politique sont superflus, futiles, inutiles parfois. Sans ces quelques mesures austères du budget, il n'y avait plus d'avenir. Laisser la dette s'échapper à tout contrôle équivalent à hypothéquer le futur de nos enfants et de nos petits-enfants. Oui, Madame la Présidente, hypothéquer leur avenir. Quel leader politique responsable peut laisser un tel scénario se produire? En tous les cas, pas ce Premier ministre, pas de ce côté de la Chambre, pas nous, contrairement à Pravin Jagnnath et ses cronies. Ils ne se sont jamais, Madame la Présidente, souciés de l'avenir. Ils ne pensaient qu'à leur poche et à leur protéger. Voilà quelques exemples, Madame la Présidente, et le Premier ministre l'a souligné mardi, une manne de 3,5 milliards a été octroyée sur un plateau au groupe Nandan Gopi. C'est autant de coups de poignard dans le dos du petit peuple. Et ce n'est pas tout, Madame la Présidente. Ce n'est pas tout. Ce montant de fourniture de produits pétroliers, Mercantile Maritime Group, concerne un montant de 30 milliards de roupies. 30 milliards de roupies, Madame la Présidente, qui a empoché combien? Bientôt la réponse. Et comparé aux deux autres gros dossiers, et j'ai même pas envie de revenir là-dessus, tellement ils en ont parlé, les 45 millions de la MRC, Pulse Analytics, 79 millions, Monopiravir, 78 millions. Puisqu'on parle de chiffres, laissez-moi évoquer les dépenses et les gadgets de la MTPA d'avant, je précise, au profit du groupe Maradiva qui a changé de nom récemment. À se demander pourquoi. Madame la Présidente, mes collègues députés de ce côté-ci de la Chambre avaient raffolé les détails sur les White Parties, les Coco Girl Parties, les Pinocchio Pool, donc Parties, ainsi que la Royal Ascot Party, le cash Snopolo, regardez la quantité que je vous ai énumérée, l'affaire des cartes de crédit. Mais Madame la Présidente, je vous annonce que deux autres dossiers sont allés rejoindre la pile sur la table des enquêteurs de la Financial Crime Commission. L'un concerne des contrats d'un montant de 144 millions alloués par la MTPA à ses campagnes de relance après la Covid. Le manque de transparence dans l'attribution de ces contrats ont été déjà sévèrement critiqués par l'ancien bureau de l'audit. Le second dossier concerne les contrats d'un montant de 78,9 millions pour la période de 2022 à 2024 pour la construction des stands destinés à des foires internationales en Europe. Et là, c'est une firme française qui avait obtenu ces contrats, mais encore une fois, les procédures n'avaient jamais été suivies. Je me vois forcé de rappeler ces abus, Madame la Présidente, mais tout ceci est heureusement chose du passé, Madame la Présidente, parce que je répète encore une fois que je ne vais jamais tolérer aucune magouille au sein du ministère du Tourisme. D'ailleurs, depuis mon arrivée, je ne cesse de me battre avec ceux qui sont un petit groupe, qui a flirté avec le MSM pendant 10 ans et qui ne réalisent pas que les good old days et le bronzage au soleil sont terminés. Et il a fallu nettoyer. Mais il reste tout de même des murs lézardés à réparer. Madame la Présidente, vous avez dû lire ou voir dans la presse que du 1er janvier au 15 juin 2025, notre pays a accueilli un total de 610 064 visiteurs et contre 599 039 dans la même période de l'année dernière. Cela représente 11 025 touristes de plus, et je répète 11 025 touristes de plus. Madame la Présidente, nous avons eu un mois d'avril historique, avec 119 850 visiteurs contre 103 955 pour le mois correspondant de l'année dernière. Nous avons aussi eu un mois de mai record, avec 110 671 touristes. Et Madame la Présidente, la première quinzaine de juin a été magnifique, avec 48 212 visiteurs. Grâce à cette performance, notre destination a pu se rattraper et la baisse accumulée durant ces 3 derniers mois de l'année 2025 et même s'accorder une marge non négligeable. En ce qui des recettes touristiques, nous avons déjà rattrapé notre retard. Depuis le mois d'avril, nous sommes à 32 milliards 195 pour les 4 premiers mois. Une croissance de 5% est attendue pour le secteur touristique de cette année et nous souhaitons de tout cœur dépasser la barre des 100 milliards en termes de recettes cette année. Mais je rappelle que ce secteur est dynamique. Il a évolué en fonction de plusieurs facteurs, notamment géopolitiques. Il n'y a donc jamais de certitude dans le domaine du tourisme. Le Proche-Orient vient encore une fois s'enflammer. Monsieur l'honorable leader d'opposition ou pas? Oui. Je parle pour lui là. Le Proche-Orient, c'est ça que je ne vous ai pas répondu tout à l'heure. Le Proche-Orient vient encore une fois, de s'enflammer. Nous devons être réalistes. Nous avons été épargnés. Maurice sera définitivement impacté par le Proche-Orient d'une façon ou d'une autre, aussi bien directement ou indirectement, Madame la Présidente. Mais pour l'instant, les chiffres concernant les arrivées et les recettes sont bons, encourageants pour l'avenir. Pourtant, Madame la Présidente, les critiques ont été nombreuses à mon encontre. J'ai eu droit aux articles de mauvaise foi, au vernis lancé des réseaux sociaux de certains frustrés. Jamais seulement, si en d'autres temps, sous d'autres cieux, j'aurais été sûrement pendu haut et court, ou alors envoyé au buffet. Mais les chiffres parlent d'eux-mêmes, Madame la Présidente. On a accusé le ministre du Tourisme de déclin, de tout, je m'en passe. Mais en ciblant sans relâche le ministre, certains ne réalisent pas qu'ils sont en train de faire du mal à l'industrie du tourisme. Mais Madame la Présidente, je vais décevoir bien des personnes. Ni le déclin des 3 premiers mois, ni le rebond des 2 mois et demi suivants ne sont attribuables à mon équipe. En fait, plusieurs facteurs pourraient expliquer la baisse dans les arrivées du premier trimestre. D'abord, il y a le fait que durant la deuxième partie de l'année 2024, la MTPA était trop occupée à agir comme vache à lait pour Maradiva et Ton Georges. Trop focus. Trop focus pour Maradiva et Ton Georges. Vous faire correct. pour faire... je me reprends, madame. Pour faire correctement la promotion de Maurice. Ensuite, il y a le climat. Le climat, madame la présidente. Le pays a reçu 531 mm de pluie en janvier 2023, 573 mm en janvier 2024, contre 293 mm en 2022. Il est fort probable que les inondations, couplées de la mauvaise gestion des inondations par l'ancien régime, l'ancien gouvernement, avec des scènes de voitures emportées dans les eaux, aient poussé un certain nombre de visiteurs à opter pour une période plus calme. C'est d'ailleurs ce qui explique le nombre record d'avril 2025. Il est vrai que la fête de Pâques a été évoquée comme l'une des raisons, mais elle n'est pas la seule. En 2019 et 2023, où la Pâques était aussi célébrée en avril, le nombre d'arrivées avait augmenté, mais la hausse n'était en rien comparable à celle de 2025. Il y a aussi le fait que le navire Aida Blue va venir à Maurice en octobre au lieu de janvier de cette année. À ces facteurs, j'ajouterai un autre, c'est le péché capital commis par le régime Jagnat de suspendre les réseaux sociaux du 31 octobre au 2 novembre, soit 48 heures au total. Combien de touristes ont opté pour une destination autre que Maurice en prenant connaissance dans les médias ou dans les réseaux sociaux à la dérive totalitaire de l'ancien régime du MSN. Madame la Présidente, la coïncidence veut que le jeudi 5 juin, le jour du budget statistique de Mauritius, publiait le nombre d'arrivées pour le mois de mai, montrant que nous avons rattrapé notre retard au niveau du tourisme. Quelques heures plus tard, le Premier ministre annonçait la nouvelle stratégie qui devrait privilégier un tourisme de qualité et de forte valeur ajoutée au lieu de dépendre de la quantité des recettes brutes. C'est une idée à laquelle j'adhère totalement, Madame la Présidente. Heureusement que le Premier ministre a fait cette annonce lorsque les chiffres sont passés au vert, sinon il m'aurait accusé de trouver des prétextes. Le budget 2025-2026 nous enjoint à venir avec un plan directeur pour repenser à l'avenir du tourisme, à la lumière des défis et des opportunités. Ce que nous ferons, Madame la Présidente, j'ai dit dans mon discours sur le discours programme qu'il y avait une nécessité impérieuse de développer et de valoriser le tourisme intérieur, le tourisme culturel, le tourisme patrimonial. Et le budget 2025-2026 vient confirmer tout cela. Permettez-moi, Madame la Présidente, de vous dire que le travail a déjà démarré. Mes officiers travaillent actuellement sur un projet de circuit historique et patrimonial dans la région du Sud-Est. Notre vision est de faire des musées à ciel ouvert et nous allons aussi créer des itinéraires qui mènent nos visiteurs au-delà des plages, vers le cœur authentique de notre nation. Et cette année, 5 villages de l'île, soit Souillac, Grande-Rivière Sud-Est, Bellombe, Chamarel ou Trobiche, vont soumettre une demande pour obtenir le titre de meilleur village touristique. Je rappelle que Grand-B et Roche-Noir l'ont obtenu lors de l'édition 2024. C'est la première fois qu'un tel nombre de villages participent à cette initiative de l'ONU du tourisme. Nous travaillons aussi sur un projet de la réhabilitation de la citadelle. Ce lieu historique fréquente pas moins de 1 millier de personnes chaque jour et appelé à devenir une sorte de musée à ciel ouvert, mais aussi un lieu où l'artisanat local et tout ce qui est made in Mauritius, made in Maurice, règneront en maître. Nous travaillons aussi sur un projet de village culinaire. La cuisine mauricienne, évidemment, cuisine de notre île, représente une fenêtre ouverte sur une histoire riche et complexe. Et nos grands-mères, nos dadis, nos kalas sont des véritables cordons bleus. Nous allons aussi investir dans la signalétique culturelle, la restauration de nos sites historiques, de la formation et de nos guides et de l'art de conter nos histoires. Madame la Présidente, nous allons faire découvrir la richesse de nos forêts, de nos montagnes, de nos plaines fertiles et de nos villages pittoresques. Nous allons aussi emmener le visiteur à s'immerger dans la vie locale, à rencontrer nos agriculteurs et à goûter à l'authenticité mauricienne. C'est un tourisme durable qui encourage la préservation de nos écosystèmes fragiles et qui offre de nouvelles perspectives économiques à des régions parfois oubliées du développement touristique. Et enfin, nous allons mettre, Madame la Présidente, de l'avant une autre façon de l'âme mauricienne. Et ce plan directeur sera préparé en collaboration avec des partenaires, mais aussi avec la Banque mondiale qui a effectué un travail dans ce sens déjà. Mais son rapport n'avait jamais été publié, comme je l'ai dit avant dans la PNQ, par mon prédécesseur, pour des raisons connues à lui-même, à lui seul. Madame la Présidente, un plan de restructuration est en cours à la Tourisme Authority. Et je dois dire, depuis l'arrivée du directeur, je dois dire qu'il a fait un travail extraordinaire en l'espace d'1 mois. Et je vois que les résultats arrivent. Le budget 2025-2026 nous enjoint d'adresser l'impact du tourisme sur l'environnement et de relever les défis de durabilité de l'industrie afin d'assurer une croissance touristique respectueuse de l'environnement. C'est dans cette optique, Madame la Présidente, que la Tourism Authority va venir avec les nouveaux règlements concernant 2 activités appréciées par les touristes qu'il m'a parlé, que je ne voulais pas plutôt dire parce que c'était déjà dans mon discours, la nage avec les dauphins et l'observation des baleines. C'est un dossier suivi de près par le Deputy Prime Minister, l'honorable Paul Béranger, qui a présidé plusieurs réunions à ce sujet. Et d'ailleurs, je tiens à le remercier pour nous avoir fait profiter de sa riche expérience. Et je lui dis merci encore une fois. Et le pays, de l'autre côté, est aussi en bonne voie pour décrocher la certification de Green Destination d'ici 2030, ce qui, évidemment, va renforcer notre image en tant que pays écologique et destination éco-consciente. De plus, la Tourism Authority va intensifier les programmes de formation afin d'inciter les opérateurs touristiques à adopter des meilleures pratiques durables. Madame la Présidente, je ne peux m'empêcher d'évoquer 3 mesures du budget qui me réjouissent au plus haut point. J'avais évoqué ces 2 sujets lors de mon intervention sur le discours programme. Je suis heureux que le Premier ministre et ministre des Finances ait alloué 6 millions de roupies dans le budget pour l'implémentation du système Identification Automatique AIS sur tous nos bateaux de plaisance. J'insiste, Madame la Présidente, que l'urgence de renforcer notre contrôle sur les mouvements de bateaux est les plus pressantes que jamais pour combattre le trafic de drogue. L'autre mesure concerne l'introduction de portiques électroniques e-gates, le système de reconnaissance Iris Recognition System, qui va mettre un terme définitif aux longues attentes à l'aéroport et aux procédures administratives lourdes à l'immigration. Enfin, la troisième concerne le revamping qu'on attend avec impatience de la Mauritius, de la MTPA, Mauritius Tourism Promotion Authority. Nous y travaillons actuellement déjà, ainsi pour améliorer l'image de marque de l'île Maurice. Je suis heureux que le budget évoque le problème de connectivité locale, de connectivité aérienne, pardon. C'est un élément essentiel pour le secteur. Nous avons déjà eu plusieurs sessions de travail aussi avec le ministre des Affaires étrangères, avec l'honorable Ritesh Ramphal, avec le Junior Minister aussi, et Rajan Narasimhan, et évidemment, nous sommes en contact permanent avec le PMO. J'ai entendu un honorable membre évoquer la mesure obligeant tout opérateur commercial de bateau de plaisance à s'enregistrer, mais je pense qu'il faudra revoir et repasser réellement, et qu'il manque d'arguments, et d'où le fait qu'il n'a fait que passer dessus. En revanche, je parlerai de la tourism fee de 3 € par personne par nuit, excluant les enfants de 12 ans, dans l'objectif suprême de contribuer au développement du tourisme durable et au soutien des infrastructures. Certains diront que ces frais agiront comme obstacle à l'arrivée des touristes, mais à cela je réplique, Madame la Présidente, que cette mesure existe dans plusieurs pays déjà, et que le montant le plus élevé, par exemple à Bali, la taxe est de 10 $, alors qu'aux Seychelles, elle va jusqu'à 8 $. Même les Maldives ont une taxe pour les touristes. Comme l'a si bien souligné le ministre délégué Cité Pierre, Maurice est l'un des derniers pays à introduire cette taxe. C'est une taxe qui va garantir que les bénéfices de ce secteur contribuent au développement à long terme et aux objectifs de durabilité du pays, c'est-à-dire la préservation de l'environnement et le maintien des infrastructures essentielles. Madame la Présidente, je soulignerai aussi que cette mesure va nous forcer à formaliser le secteur informel. C'est un dossier urgent, d'autant plus que le plan directeur doit permettre à la création d'opportunités pour le plus grand nombre possible de nos citoyens. Madame la Présidente, le budget 2025-2026 nous enjoint aussi de nous pencher sur le problème et le manque aigu de main-d'œuvre dans le secteur. Comme l'avait si bien dit Sir Gaëtan Duval à l'époque, il nous faut tout miser sur la formation, car le tourisme, disait, requiert des compétences qui visent l'authenticité et la versatilité. Nous n'avons pas d'autre choix, Madame la Présidente, que d'attirer plus de jeunes vers le secteur, et pour cela, il faut d'abord des cours de qualité, ainsi que l'introduction des mesures initiatives au niveau des salaires. Il nous faut encourager les institutions existantes, comme l'école hôtelière Sir Gaëtan Duval, à participer à leur formation. Donc, il est primordial, Madame la Présidente, de récupérer ces jeunes qui ne sont pas très portés sur l'académique, et leur offrir des opportunités de formation dans le secteur de l'hôtellerie et de l'hospitalité. Madame la Présidente, c'est le sourire et l'accueil légendaire du Mauricien qui sont à la base du succès de notre tourisme. Nous voulons que ce secteur soit synonyme d'espoir pour les familles mauriciennes, comme ce fut le cas dans le passé. Sur ce plan, nous avons presque finalisé un plan concernant le fonctionnement de l'école hôtelière Sir Gaëtan Duval. Nous allons aussi établir des partenariats, outre celui de l'école hôtelière de Lausanne, que nous sommes déjà en contact, et avec d'autres établissements internationaux de renom. Madame la Présidente, mon ministère a déjà eu des consultations sur ce sujet avec le secteur privé, et vu le contexte dans lequel nous nous trouvons, nous allons devoir gérer la dotation des 900 millions de roupies judicieusement. Nous sommes convaincus qu'à cette même période de l'année prochaine, nous parlerons de progrès accomplis avec des mesures visant à redresser notre économie. Et pour conclure, Madame la Présidente, je souhaite évoquer un mot qui ont exprimé un mot à ceux qui ont exprimé leur mécontentement sur les radios et les réseaux sociaux. Ce mot est liberté, Madame la Présidente. Ils doivent se rappeler qu'ils ont de nouveau la liberté de s'exprimer eux-mêmes et leurs proches. Et leurs proches ne vont jamais être inquiétés encore par la Special Striking Team, la SST. Certains semblent avoir oublié que pour des critiques moins acerbes, ils ont été victimes d'actes d'arrestation arbitraires ou de planting moins inclus. Certains semblent avoir oublié. Mais pas plus tard que samedi dernier, il y a eu 2 manifestations contre la réforme de la pension. Ceux qui étaient dans la rue devraient se demander si elle aurait eu la même liberté sous le règne de Jacqueline. D'ailleurs, le Premier ministre, l'ancien Premier ministre, semble avoir tout d'un coup redécouvert les vertus de la manifestation. Subitement, l'ancien Premier ministre. Il lui manquait, Madame la Présidente, que de reprendre le fameux slogan BLD. Madame la Présidente, quand le MSM suspend les réseaux sociaux et les critiques sous le gouvernement Ramgoulam, la rue ne peut se mobiliser et gronder sans risque de représailles. Ce gouvernement a même licencié un directeur qui a refusé d'accorder l'autorisation du champ de Mars pour une manifestation organisée par ceux qui s'opposent à sa propre réforme. Avez-vous déjà vu un autre chef du gouvernement, Madame la Présidente, autre que l'honorable Premier ministre Dr Nabil Ramgoulam, faire preuve d'autant de sagesse et de fair play? Il est cependant malheureux de noter que les mêmes manifestants, victimes de la dérive autocratique de l'ancien régime, flirtent avec leurs anciens bourreaux dans la rue. Côte à côte, Madame la Présidente. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes le 24 juin, Madame la Présidente. 25 juin, pardon. C'était hier que je suis supposé parler. Ces mêmes personnes viendront un jour remercier le docteur Nabil Ramgoulam. La population a aussi tendance à oublier un peu vite qu'il y a eu le drame de Ouakachou, les abus durant la Covid-19, les décès des patients dialysés, la mort suspecte de Kristen et de Kanakia, et je m'en passe, Madame la Présidente. Et moi, je dirais à la population, ayez confiance en l'honorable docteur Nabil Ramgoulam, Premier ministre, qui, avec le soutien du vice-premier ministre, Paul Béranger, sera mener le pays à bon port. Et je dis, Madame la Présidente, que l'honorable docteur Nabil Ramgoulam, Premier ministre, ne s'est pas soucié de sa gloire personnelle. Les mesures difficiles qu'il a prises en tant que ministre des Finances le prouvent amplement. C'est pour ça que je dis, et je terminerai en rappelant que le monde déteste le changement, mais que c'est pourtant la première chose qui lui a permis de progresser, et tout changement difficile au début est compliqué au milieu, mais magnifique à la fin. Heureusement que l'histoire a bonne mémoire. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Merci. Merci, Monsieur le Ministre. Vous avez fait coup double aujourd'hui. Monsieur le Ministre de la Santé.
Madam Speaker, since my young days, I was taught that there are always two courses of action in life. there are two ways open to man. One is the good way, the right way, and the other is a pleasant way. Both have different objectives. Both ways approach a man, but the wise man, he chooses the good path, the righteous path, and reject the pleasant one. Both paths are wide open to man. Both comes to us. Both are at our disposal. Nectar and poison, both are kept in 2 cups before us. Drink whichever you want. The glamour of poison kept in a beautiful cup is more attractive than the nectar. All that glitters is not gold, goes the saying. But the foolish, the opportunist, and those who have mean and hungry looks, they accept the pleasant way. They cannot withstand the temptation. This is exactly what the MSM regime had done in the ignorance and lust for power. They accepted the pleasant way, the easy-going life, and in so doing, they have dragged our country toward the slippery slope of financial and economic destruction and ruin. They have mortgaged the future of our children. The right path is sharp and narrow at the edge of a razor. But the present government and the leadership of the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister has taken the rightful path. It may seem bitter, but we know the future will be bright. Tomorrow's harvest depends upon today's plowing and sowing. But if for fear of bad weather, we do not plow and sow today, we will have no harvest tomorrow. This is exactly they have done. They were static, they were stagnant, and they were swimming dans la mare de corruption et népotisme. There is a saying, he slept beneath the moon, he basked in the sun, he led a life of going to do, and he died without doing none. This is what they have done. The case of the previous government, only talking and no action, and this is what has happened to our country. They have been plucking the fruits without watering the plant. And you know what happens if you only pluck the fruits, you don't water the plant. They were milking the cow, they were not feeding the cow, and the end result has been disastrous today for their entire community. They have dried up everything, they have finished everything, and they have the guts and courage to come in front of the public, and they are trying to tarnish the image of the government. Truth is bitter, truth is naked, and public will come to know tomorrow what was the truth. They have completely destroyed the economy of this country. Those crooks who were steeped in ignorance and arrogance do not know the future, the history of this country. Our ancestors had done a lot for the country. We are proud of their achievements. They disapproved the great predictions of great economic laureate James Meade, who predicted that the future of Mauritius would be doomed. We will have a gloomy future. It is no denying the fact that the father of the nation, Sir Shivsagar, had the vision and the foresight to bring Mauritius on the forefront of the world. We say bravo to him. We bow before the work that great man had done to prove even economists of those days wrong. Even the Nobel Prize winner, V.S. Naipaul, described Mauritius as an overcrowded barracoon in 1971. He was also proved wrong. The credit goes to our ancestors because they got their education from the school of suffering. We taught them the formula: strive, struggle, sweat, and succeed. And we have succeeded in making a modern Mauritius today. Free education and welfare state led to unprecedented progress. We became the poster child of development. We were known as the star and key of the Indian Ocean. The spirit of belonging and patriotism was entrenched in our culture of unity in diversity, anekta mein ekta. That is unity in diversity. That is a characteristic of our nation. Unfortunately, all that we had achieved crumbled down like packet of cards in the last 10 years. The sanctity of our key institutions were desecrated, defiled, and defamed. From the hallmark of democracy, we were reduced to the status of autocracy and dictatorship. They even dared to desecrate and sully the sacred lake of Ganga Talab, where the Prime Minister of this country had poured the Ganga Jal into it. where Shiv Sagar and Ghulam toiled and moiled to keep that place a sacred place. A former minister was engaged in stack party with wine wells women at a time when the country was reeling under the distress of confinement following the COVID-19 pandemic. And these people have the guts to come in front of the public and they are criticizing the work that is being done by this government. It's a shame for them. The reign of terror, the reign of terror and political vendetta crippled the health of this nation. It created economic and social havoc. Anyone who dared to raise his head was persecuted and even detained in jail. Hundreds of innocent citizens were under provisional arrest. I was under provisional arrest. Our Prime Minister was under provisional arrest. That was the darkest period in Mauritian history. In the history of Mauritius, the greatest number of political charges as political opponents were during the reign of Pinocchio and Lady Macbeth. Everybody knows. Never in the history of Mauritius had never known so many provisional arrests. Every day, starting from the morning till late at night, they were catching people, putting them behind the bars just because you had the guts, the courage to raise a voice against those people. They had stooped so low that even Holy Virgin Mary was not spared. A former commissioner of police made improper remarks and attacked a particular community. Immorality, corruption and nepotism, large-scale frauds reached its peak. I'm not saying so. The then Prime Minister, Praveen Jagannath, he made a honest admission. When he said, I'm quoting him, mafia has infiltrated all key institutions of this country. He said so. And of course, if this is not an avowal of failure, of state capture and kitchen politics, what do you call it? The destiny of our lovely, great little country, as Mrs. Gandhi used to say, the great little country was under the whims and caprices of a Lady Macbeth who was controlling all levels of power. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Power blinded them to such an extent that they didn't hesitate to drag a former Prime Minister from his house by his collar and brought him before Central CID to Kazan Central on frivolous charges. And all these charges were dismissed by the court. I remember, I have to speak it out. When the Prime Minister of India visited Mauritius in 2015, there was a delegation comprising of the President of the party, Dr. Arvind Bolel, Sakil, myself, we met him. And I don't hesitate to say, I asked him a question, that when you became the Prime Minister, what was the first action you did? He smiled. I replied that you went to the former Prime Minister, you bowed down, you touched his feet. But that had not been the case in our country. Our Prime Minister took handcuffs and moved out of the house of our former Prime Minister. That makes the whole difference. He did not say anything, he stayed put. I still remember, but he realized what I was telling. Mauritius was so, this makes a whole difference. Here we are treated as enemies. They treat their adversaries as adversaries, not as enemies. Mauritius was brandished as narco state and the drug mafia who reigned in all impunity. Government de Nulame was a phrase coined in the time of MSM. Can you forget how Franklin, the notorious drug peddler, was benefiting from occult protectors from higher quarters? Can you forget that? Have you forgotten that tractor pole full of drugs worth millions of rupees passed under the note of the Prime Minister and the Commissioner of Police during an official function as a harbour? Even have you forgotten all this? The MSM government precipitated, rushed to blame COVID-19 pandemic to justify the economic woes of the country. And taking this as a pretext, they printed 180 billion of rupees. This is the worst thing that somebody could have done. That is, the country were reeling under the grip of problem, of disease. At that particular moment, they took their opportunity just to start printing money. In 2019, they took 19 billion rupees from the Reserve Bank of Mauritius to finance electoral promises of raising the basic retirement pension. COVID-19 came as a manna from heaven for the cronies of MSM. Loot, mar, as much as you can loot out. You can try to take as much as you can. A series of emergency procurement contracts were forked out to coping of ministers. Even the Bank of Mauritius, the State Trading Corporation, became piggy bank for those holding power or those close to corridors of power. The abuse of power and misuse of public funds became the mantra of the day. Madam Speaker, dozens of murders and kidnapping. Can we forget also? Corruption was there, fraud was there. What about murders within inverted comma? Dozens of murders and kidnapping took place during that time. The former government, they had blood in their hands. Shakespeare through Lady Macbeth, who have said, all the perfumes of Arabia will not fit in my little hands. That was the situation in the country. Our memory is not short, but it is not so short that we can forget the cold-blooded murder of Kisna and of Karakia. Strange and terrific news, like procurement officer threw herself from 10th floor building. One committed suicide by hanging under the lavabo, another by hanging with door of cupboard against the knob of a cupboard. Calamity went on and on and on. Everybody remained silent. Nobody could open their mouths. Under the pretext of bailing out enterprises and tourism industry, billions were siphoned off by the NIC. Magajiva benefited more than $1 million of rupees of taxpayers' money. And today they come billions. And today they come and they will tell you our government is not doing the right thing. Notorious political agents benefited billions of rupees for setting up even private clinics. They did not even respect our disease, our old, those people who are dying, those people who are not well. At one point in time, private clinics were mushrooming in the country. It was so tempting that even one ex-vice prime minister and minister of health also wanted running off the license to start a clinic, because that is the best way to make money, best way to print money. Can people stoop so low as to play with the health of the nation? The message is clear. Downgrade the public hospital that they have done in this country so that promote their business will flourish. At one given point in time, all the private clinics were full and the public hospitals were empty. This is what they have done to loot our people. Over 10 billion rupees were loaned to big conglomerates. Even land granted for cultural centers were grabbed forcibly to give them back to blue-eyed boys. The case of Royal Green that benefited over 3 billion rupees in another flagrant example of loot mark. That was not enough. That was not enough. They cast their evil eye on the state land at Anslare, where devotees meet for spiritual festivals. Even that they eyed that land, and had it not been for the support of the movement led by our friends of the North, even that you would have lost. It's a shame. It's a shame. Naked day robbery. And these people dare to come and speak about philosophy to us. They will go on the streets and they will try to open slogan against our government. BIE was dismantled, everybody knows. Taxpayers had to pay for it, 25 billions. I remember that time the minister, Rosi Badin, openly declared not a single rupee of taxpayers would be utilized, but 25 billion rupees. They grabbed in their search for vengeance. What about Bitarax? And they had to pay 6 billion. Patel and Engineering over 2 billion rupees. It appears we have forgotten the safe Tichi and heritage Tichi, over even billions of rupees was siphoned off. In the system of trial and error, this is how they have looted our country. They bled our country white, as if our country caught jaundice. Mauritius came on its knees. It was suffocating and taking its last breath. That reminds me of the great Indian writer, Hayre Manushya Ki Madurat, oh, the desire of man, how baseless can be your standing. Madam Speaker, what to speak of the common man? They had no respect even for the poor, the helpless, the sick and the diseased elders. Have we forgotten the fate of our elders? Those dialysis patients, they were treated worse than animals. They were confined, cabin, kept in segregated place, left to die without even the basic necessities of life. Among them we had those who had no eyesight, those who were really sick. 5 patients were visually impaired. Total number of deaths from Suyak Dialysis Center was 12. It's known, it's such an insult for our people, our elders, and we know how we treat our elders in our houses. This is heartbreaking, unacceptable. They had undergone unimaginable suffering in isolation and neglect. They were parents and loved ones whose dignity and right to human care should have been protected. Madam Speaker, really speaking, they were left to die. And luckily, our government, under the leadership of the Prime Minister, we have opened up investigations on that, and those who are guilty should be paid at any cost. The ex-Prime Minister qualified the report on the state of the economy as a torsion. Maybe in his days, he used to coerce public officers to produce such type of torsion. Suffice it to tell him that the actual report had been prepared by public officers who are now free to breathe. They can breathe, they can discuss, they can talk, they can move, they can do whatever they want within the limits of the law. Why did they overstate the budgeted income by 26 billion? I was listening, and understate the expenditure by 15.5. Why did they do that? They must know the reason. We do not need to be an economist to detect that this government was cooking the books and cooking the population at the same time. To make matters worse, they overstated the GDP by 73.8 billion rupees. They were living in fool's paradise and wanted population to believe that all is well. During electoral campaign, MSM was speaking of economic boon. It is they who prepared the country to be downgraded. It is they who put the country in the trajectory of narco state. It is they who isolated our country internationally. I remember when Navin Ramgoolam was the Prime Minister, what was the status of our country? You go to Africa, everybody speaks about Mauritius. You go to any part of the world, but these buffoons, they had isolated the country. They dilapidated all reserves and fund of our parastatal bodies. There was a time in this country, I have been minister for almost 20 years, I know, each and every parastatal body used to have, I don't say billions, but millions of rupees in the coffers. You start with State Trading Corporation. I was the minister for 5 years there. Take any department, CB or anyone, but now they have looted all. All reserves have been looted from the parastatal bodies. They took 180 billion rupees from the Bank of Maurice. They made MIC a covenant of Alibaba for MSM mafia to pilferage at the expense of hard-working taxpayers. Who sold the 2 aircrafts? At throwaway Reprise, everybody knows. But nobody speaks about it. Who printed notes that led to disastrous consequences? Who depreciated our rupee? Who destroyed our purchasing power? They are responsible for the skyrocketing inflation. They increased the public debt from 238 to over 600 billion rupees. This amount is accounted one. There is more than that. In my ministry, we are owing 2.2 billion rupees. If they were so good, they were so capable, they would have left so many debts everywhere. I will come on my ministry. I have not got it now. Why did they consciously crush the economy of this nation? There is a very interesting anecdote in one of our epics. In one of our epics, there is a very interesting anecdote. When Lord Krishna asked the foolish Duryodhana, the evil-minded man, don't you think what you are doing is wrong? Why are you doing that? My Lord, I know what is wrong and what is right, but I simply don't want to do right. So this was the situation there. As Shakespeare would have said, steeped in blood, should I made no more, returning what RTGS has to go over. I'm already in blood, what is the fun of returning back? Let me go ahead. This is what they did. Looted and looted the country day and night. History will recall, Madam Speaker, history will recall the Herculean task of the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister, who without hesitation presented a budget to save our children, to save our generation. They had the courage of conviction. They have superb values and they have self-respect. They did not cheat anybody. They did not deceive anybody. They speak nothing but the truth. They may look firm. At times, when they were talking about the budget, they look firm, but they are friendly. They appear tough, but they are tender toward the population. They are courageous, but they are compassionate. They believe in innovation. They don't believe in stagnation. This budget is not about goodies. This budget is not about buying people for vicious and malicious motives. This budget is a life-saving medicine for all Mauritians, for our children and our future. We are passing through turbulent times, and turbulent times give us incredible opportunities to come up. I always used to quote one of my teachers, that in all adversities there is in its depths, in all adversities there is in its depths a treasure of spiritual blessing secretly hidden. I believe in that. This government is giving you a stable currency, is controlling inflation, is creating confidence in the country, in public administration, confidence in the Mauritian rupee and Mauritian economy. You know, many people, they hide in themselves when the going get rough. They live in the comfort zone, but the wise are those, they eat their fear before the fear can eat them. And I say, thank you, Prime Minister, you have done it for us. Let us inform the House, and through the House to the nation at large, how the former government, the late government, treated Ministry of Health and Public Health System, Ministry of Health. The public health system was on the verge of bankruptcy. There was a total collapse everywhere. There was lawlessness everywhere. When we took over, there was hardly, Madam Speaker, any penny was left to be spent on essential services such as procurement of medicines, maintenance and repair, among others. The House is aware of the state of the economy, but let me inform you about the state of the health system in this country. What I had observed, neither my pen nor my tongue can describe. I had been minister for many years. I have known victories and defeats. I had known ups and downs, pleasure and pain. But I have never seen a ministry financially naked, bankrupt, down to its knees. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Wherever you look, there was nothing but unpaid bills, bills and bills. Coffers were not only empty, but there was an outstanding debt to the tune of 2.2 billion rupees they had left. The MSM is claiming from housetop that they left a flourishing economy. I heard that Buffon, that Minister Sabat, that the economy was booming. This is what is the meaning of booming, keeping a debt of 2.2 billion rupees. I ask, then why the workers of all grades of health, drivers, healthcare assistants, attendants, medical, paramedical staff, doctors, not paid their duly earned overtime for so many months? Why were suppliers of car batteries, maintenance companies, petrol stations, laundry services not paid their services for their services? They had not paid a single cent. Is it not a fact? Is it not true? The supplier of fuel had threatened to stop supply of fuel except for ambulances. The country had gone to such a situation. Even the suppliers of other services had stopped their supply, with the result that all vehicles for ministry were not properly maintained, and many, including life-saving ambulances, were lying idle. Everyday suppliers and creditors were calling at the ministry to demand immediate settlement of their dues. They even shamed us overseas, outside the country, hospitals which had treated our patients. That is very important for the country to know. Hospitals abroad that had treated our patients had not been paid, and the sum of approximately 200 million had to be paid. They had not paid 200 million rupees. The report of National Audit Office mentions that pharmaceutical products to the tune of 72.5 million were disposed of as rubbish. We had to throw them out. And to add insult to injury, that is worst of it. The worst part of it, insulting part, they had not even paid their dues of over $20 million for COVID vaccine. The vaccines were not yet paid, and the then government had taken 2 rupees per litre of petrol in order to amass billions of rupees kept in their coffers. They did not even pay for COVID, the vaccine. Now we are paying. Now we are paying. Can we forget the Pack and Blister saga? They had purchased 50 defective ventilators. They were never put to use. They were returned to the supplier. We had not even seen the ventilators. And they were returned. They're actually lying in the Freeport in their custody. And we are paying the rental for keeping those rubbish. We are paying it. So we have spent over 100 million rupees in that Pack and Blisters. So whose fault is that? Ours or theirs? Their fault. And now they are trying to put it on us that we are not ruling the country. We have to accept that they constructed oversized, poorly planned, empty infrastructures at great cost. And you know the reason why they have done that. There had been no human resource planning for many years. The result was 1,500 nurses, record officers, lab technicians, doctors and other paramedical staff in 10 years They had hardly recruited any one of them. That's why we are in such a situation today. We have to work. We can't still idle. Till the recruitment of staff, we have to encourage our staff to work for the country. I'll fail my duty if I don't share with the House the evaluation carried out independently by World Health Organization. That is very, very bad. Regarding the health sector strategic plan that they had for 2020 to 2024. This was launched in August 2020. The overall target is so alarming and so catastrophic. According to the health sector strategic plan, the life expectancy should have reached 75.5 years in 2024. It is still 73.9. It is a failure, a flop. Infant mortality was targeted to reach 10 out of 1,000 in 2024. We are stuck at 14.3, the same. Under 5 years, mortality was targeted to reach 12 out of 1,000 in 2024. It is still 15.4. Maternal mortality ratio targeted to reach 0.35, 2024. It is still high. HIV/AIDS cases was supposed to become zero in 2024. We have 549 registered cases today. It means wherever they have laid their hands has been a complete fiasco. The mortality rate of 5%. As far as non-communicable diseases are concerned, they wanted to bring it back to 5%. It is 13.5% increase in mortality rate. It was a big failure, catastrophic, shocking their plan. This is a real slap on the shameless cheek of those who were in power at that time. We eradicated malaria. We dealt with outbreak of chikungunya as well as dengue, and we succeeded because we had a well-equipped staff. Unfortunately, over the 10 years, they had neglected and destroyed everything to such an extent that I have to announce to the House that dengue has now become an endemic in Mauritius. This is a direct result of criminal negligence on the part of Public Health Department. They have failed. 10 years were lost. The country was bleeding white. Luckily, when all hopes were shattered, the electorate booted them out of power. If they had not done that, the predictions of Meade and V.S. Naipaul could have become true. When the country was at its lowest ebb, the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister came unitedly to save the nation. The country needed a savior. The country needed a selfless and dedicated being. Both put their differences apart and rushed to rescue the nation that was reeling under the grip of dictators and mafias. I take this opportunity to congratulate the Prime Minister for the budget that he has presented. He has chosen the good path rather than the pleasant path. It is in such a situation that the capacity of leadership quality of a person is judged. A party without a leader is just like a field without water supply. A party without a leader is just like electric wire without power supply. It is just like a class without teacher. That's why the opposition today is leaderless. We have on our side two leaders. Allow me, Madam Speaker, to go to the landmark measures announced for my budget now. There is a provision in my budget for the creation of the post of an ombudsman, and that will be of great news for those my friends who keep on shouting at me. Now I know the work is done. All the complaints will be dealt by the ombudsman. Any case of alleged case of negligence will be dealt by him. The ombudsman will be the voice of the public. He will protect the rights of the patients.
By him?
No, we don't have the name. It's ombudsman. That ombudsperson. I'm sorry, ombudsperson. He will ensure independent and impartial oversight. He will improve transparency and accountability. As far as monitoring of quality of healthcare is concerned, we are operating in a void. In order to address this unacceptable gap, a National Health Quality Commission is being created that will ensure standardization of care through enforcement of national and clinical standards and protocol. The Prime Minister, since long, has been talking about the importance of putting up managers, credible managers in all our big establishments, because the medical experts with no management experience, they cannot manage efficiently a healthcare institution. So this is being addressed, and it was he who insisted that 5 professional managers with suitable qualification and experience will be recruited for the management of regional hospitals. So apart from the doctors, the directors of health will be having managers at the top. They are going to administer our hospital. When I'm Speaker, day in, day out, most of the time, and that are my advisors, was spent in receiving calls from public and in addressing their problems. But now, if you even keep on hearing people complaining on local radios, on social media, complaining about problems that they have encountered in our public health services. To solve this problem, a 24-hour hotline for public to address a complaint is being created so that the ministry might resolve them in the responsive and timely manner. I had working sessions with the World Health Organization for a new Public Health Act, which dates back to 1925, which is archaic and primitive. Similarly, a new Pharmacy Act will be prepared in order to put an end to the unscrupulous practices prevailing actually in the service. I'm also planning to bring amendments to Food Act, Optical Council Act, Medical Council Act, and Private Health Institution Act. The Food Act is being amended to enable on-site testing. That is, no need to take the food and bring in the laboratory for inspection. The inspectors will come on site, take the samples, and they will try to test it on the spot. And for that, 20 million rupees has already been earmarked. The trust fund for specialized medical care will be revamped. This government is promoting research and capacity building for clinical trials as a prerequisite to drive innovation in medical and health care. Other research projects such as non-communicable diseases and national SALT survey will follow. In that respect, a dedicated division of metabolic advanced cardiac imaging and research will be set up within the trust fund. Funds have already been secured through Professor Derek Yalon and Walker from the University College of London through the intervention of the Prime Minister to kickstart a major research project regarding remote ischemic preconditioning in patients suffering from myocardial infarctions. Advanced metabolic and hormonal testing platform will be rolled out to detect hidden risk factors for non-communicable diseases well before symptoms emerge and lead to persistent treatment. Similarly, diabetes path to remission program will be launched in a phased manner. Our biggest public health problem in Mauritius is diabetes. Nearly 20% of the population are victims of diabetes, and another 20% of pre-diabetic patients. In this very house, there must be over 1/3 of our friends may be suffering from diabetes, they may not be knowing it. So we are launching a new program called the Path to Remission Program, that is PTR. We are taking it very seriously. All the sacrifices of Professor Owens had gone to the drains because of the carelessness of the then government. I assure the House, with the help of international experts, we will meet the challenge. Madam Speaker, we cannot close our eyes on vector-borne diseases like chikungunya and dengue. The former government was so indecent that they had completely given up the vector biology infrastructure. I'm pleased to announce that with the collaboration of senior advisors of my ministry, we are setting up a full-fledged department of vector biology at Sir Sivsagar Ramgoolam National Hospital. Activities will start soon. A sum of 24 million rupees has been allocated for that project. I'm pleased to announce that e-health project will shortly be a reality, and that is starting from the east. Proper health records and long queues will become a thing of the past. We believe in investing in people, not only in buildings. That too, building constructed without the proper planning, and worse, without the collaboration of Ministry of National Infrastructure and ESD. Provisions are made in our budget for 1,000 nurses over the next 2 years, 50 trained midwives, 50 medical health officers, 30 specialists. Budget for training capacity also has been increased. Madam Speaker, you will be probably shocked to learn that over the past 10 years, electrical system and water reticulation system of Sir Sivsagar National Hospital has been neglected to such an extent by the outgoing government that patients are not provided adequate hot water for their showers. I would like to remind the House that works in that direction had already started in 2014, but for reasons known to them, the project was boycotted. Most of the wards do not have safety fire certificate because of neglected electrical system. Sir Sivsagar Ramgoolam Hospital and Victoria Hospital were criminally neglected. A capital budget of 1.8 billion has been allocated to my ministry to support the modernization of the health infrastructure. Allow me, Madam, to give an update regarding other infrastructural works. We will be opening new eye hospital in days to come. We have corrected all deficiencies in the building. The renal transplant unit at Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital, sponsored by the Government of India, is nearing completion. At the same time, I would like to inform the House that kidney transplant is being performed by top surgeons of India in our country. The PET scan, the SPECT scan, DEXA scan at the National Cancer Center was lying idle for almost years. They are being commissioned and will be fully functional in days to come. That is a great achievement. I have to be honest and inform the House that I am not satisfied with the care that was being provided to cancer patients till now. When we speak on cancer, it should be prevention, prevention, and prevention. A major awareness campaign has been launched to sensitize population regarding health lifestyles and early detection of non-communicable diseases in general and cancer in particular. I'm pleased to announce to the House that the mortality rate for cervical cancer has dropped by 40% as a result of national screening program. In high-risk patients for breast cancer, there will be a program for screening by mammography. We are currently in negotiation with India to get an expert in cancer to lead the Cancer National Center. Much emphasis will be laid on early detection and cancer. Madam Speaker, a memorandum of understanding on cooperation in the field of Ayurvedic medicine was signed between Government of Mauritius and India. Such a center would make Mauritius a hub in the region in the field of Ayurvedic medicine. We are finalizing arrangement for that center to be a reality in the near future. Across the world, accident and emergency departments are manned by trained specialists in accident and emergency. Actually, we have 30 doctors trained in accident and emergency medicine, but they are not being utilized properly. The system is being restructured. Accident and emergency department will be led by qualified emergency physician. This will lead to faster triage and higher efficiency in patient flow. This will also lead to advanced standardized care for trauma, strokes, and cardiac arrest. This will also lead to improved survival rates through timely specialized intervention as demonstrated internationally. In Mauritius, we do not have support in terms of interventional bronchoscopy for a number of patients who have certain types of pulmonary diseases. Because of the conditions, they cannot be sent abroad. In that respect, I had discussion with Professor Fayan, President of the Société de Pneumologie de l'Océan Indien, et la Fédération de l'Académie de Médecine de France for support for setting up interventional bronchoscopy services in Mauritius. They have agreed to provide us with necessary equipment and training for these services to be set up. A memorandum of understanding is being finalized. Madam Speaker, every hospital will have patient facilitation desk to streamline patient appointment, was allocation follow-up to assist with inquiries. A new family communication system will help doctors and nurses to provide regular updates to relatives, including daily medical progress, proactive outreach during prolonged admission or critical care, support for those unable to visit due to work or distance. This service will strengthen trust between hospitals and communities. Budget also provides for establishment of 5 regional diabetic centers to provide under one roof specialist consultation and education, multidisciplinary care, diabetes specialist nurse support, nutrition education, food care, renal screening, psychological support, and support for practice of regular exercise. An international advisory committee on diabetes and cardiovascular disease is being set up to bring global best practices into Mauritian medical health care, to provide clinical trials and precision in medicine efforts, to support our expanding diabetes centers through membership and training. Budget includes a new ophthalmology, cardiac surgery, that we are starting in fact soon. The neurosurgery department will be open in the months to come. We are also negotiating with some surgeons from India. Hospital services will include cataract surgery, cardiac bypass, valve replacement, that will greatly reduce national and regional waiting times. Actually, we are conducting 5 cardiac surgery daily, but that number will be doubled in the, let's say, months to come. Madam Speaker, presently there is only 1 stroke unit for the whole population at Victoria Hospital. Stroke units reduce mortality of patients by suffering from cerebrovascular accident by up to 20%. This budget provides for the establishment of 1 stroke unit in each regional hospital. We have been provided finance for that work. We have been repeatedly talking about an aging population. Till now, there is a total absence of geriatric healthcare services in our regional hospital. Again, on the instructions of the Prime Minister, we have decided to set up in all hospitals 1 geriatric ward so that our old ones will be taken care of properly. With regard to substance abuse and harm reduction and HIV/AIDS, my ministry will work in close collaboration with National Agency for Drug Control. Patients living with HIV deserve the same freedom of choice as any other citizen managing a chronic illness. Antiretroviral treatment will be made available both in public and private sectors. The transition to 1 pill regime will represent a significant step forward in improving care being provided to HIV/AIDS. With regard to parallel imports of medicine, my ministry will form part of the high-level steering committee which is being set up to accelerate the parallel import framework. We will implement the recommendations of the committee. Madam Speaker, we have to take immediate steps to ensure spending of available fund is optimized. We will ensure that every rupee of taxpayers are judiciously spent. In that respect, we have discontinued the use of cash issue ECG, AI ECG, a procedure unvalidated in Mauritian population and not in line with evidence-based medicine. This was introduced by the previous government. We have already saved the ministry millions of rupees. Pool procurement through G2G arrangement with India and through SIDS pool procurement program is being looked into to achieve faster and more cost-effective procurement of medical products.
Minister,
Madam Speaker?
Are you concluding? Sir?
I'm concluding.
Okay.
What you have heard, Mr. Minister, Madam Speaker, what you have heard is not a lofty wish. It is a comprehensive action plan for a healthier and more resilient Mauritius. We are transforming hospitals with professional leadership and special care, revolutionizing food safety and legislative frameworks, embedding safety through discharge summaries and clinical audits, protecting our future by targeting childhood obesity, improving patient experience through hotlines, facilitation desks, and family update. These reforms reflect a holistic vision, better health outcome, economic productivity, and resilience against future shock. Health is not a luxury. It is our formulation of national prosperity. This is our moment of national decision to act with courage, unity, foresight. We choose responsibility over populism, sustainability over short-termism, and the health of our people at the heartbeat of the nation. Let us endorse this budget with resilience, compassion, and pride for today and Mauritius tomorrow. In end, I conclude by thanking the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister who have been the brain, who have been the spring, the fountain of these decisions that have been taken for the welfare of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. I suspend the sitting for half an hour.